So Chris, talk to me about your music career. When did it start, and will it ever end?
I certainly hope not. I started playing piano, 2nd grade. My mother put me into piano lessons, and I started just picking up other instruments as I went along. My father played guitar, and he had a band with a few friends of his, so first thing I did was I picked up the bass, because they were in need of a bass player. Then I graduated onto guitar, onto drums, various other percussion, and what have you along the way. And I've had a couple bands at various points in my life, in grade school, high school, not so much in college. Most of my friends all went away. Had one over the last several years, and all the while was just doing a lot of recording of my own stuff, overdubbing, doing all the instruments myself, and just kind of self-releasing stuff, having things for my friends.
Biggest influences on your musical explorations this far, let's call it that?
Biggest influence always has been and continues to be the Beatles. Since a very young age, they've always very strongly guided what I try to do. As a guitarist specifically, I say Nels Cline and Jerry Garcia are the two biggest touchstones. When I was learning the instrument, all of the later 60s guitarists, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, John Cipollina, Leslie West, those guys were very formative for me. Started to get more into John McLaughlin, Django Reinhardt, that kind of stuff. And even more recently, there are some solo guitarists who do a lot of loop-based stuff that really influenced me, like Sarah Lipstate, Dustin Wong, Mark McGuire, and a lot of really interesting bands like Woods, Wilco. They're doing some really good stuff that informs my writing and my playing. Sam Roberts' band out of Canada have definitely probably been my biggest influence over the last several years. And a lot of jazz. Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Albert Ayler, Bill Evans. Not necessarily guitarists, but just the way they approach music and the way that they approach especially the idea of an improvisational song.
Right. When did you first hear about the Night Owls?
I'd say at this point it's probably a little over a year ago. I got an email from Matt. He had somehow tracked down some music that I put on the internet over the last couple of years, and just said, we're a band from Fords, we're looking for some other local bands to maybe do some shows with. Got in contact with me, and I wrote back and said, my band is going through some changes right now, but we have a new bass player. We might be up to do a couple shows in the future, so let us know. And he booked a show with us in Trenton. We played that together along with a couple other shows that my band did at the time, and we just kept in touch from there. My band ultimately went on a hiatus, just trying to juggle schedules. Everyone was either getting married or going to college or moving, and it was very tough. So I maintained contact with them, and slowly but surely I started doing a couple shows opening for them, myself doing my solo thing, and then sitting in on a couple songs, and eventually was asked to join the band.
So where do you feel that you fit in? What do you feel that you're offering here? What is the connection that you just referred to that you're making each time that you come down here and each time you play out with these guys?
In terms of what I'm contributing to the band, I'd like to think that it's the sprinkles on the cupcake. It's something, it's a texture that I add to the overall sound. Nothing that would necessarily be considered part of the structure and the bones of the song. If I were to stop playing, they'd still sound great, but I'd like to think that it's maybe either a little hook or just a melodic piece that gives the song that little extra push. And in terms of what I'm taking from it, it's very satisfying to have this caliber of musicianship around me. It reminds me a lot of playing in bands with my dad when I was a lot younger, where everyone just had such a history of being in music that you could say out a song title or a band, and in a second everyone was on the same page and just jamming along and having a good time without the pressures of, well, let me learn the song, what are the changes? I have, yes.
What do you think? Give me a couple words. What strikes you?
It sounded very professional, very polished, and very solid for not only a debut, but also for a local band that really was just a couple guys down the corner who happened to find me on the internet. I've heard a lot of bands that either put out a product too quick, or they don't have the songwriting or the performance chops to really sell it. And what I heard was a band that didn't really have a weak link. Everything seemed very cohesive.
Playing songs written by both Matt and John, I'm assuming that there is some distinct differences.
Absolutely.
Between the two.
Matt's songs tend to be longer. They also tend to leave a lot of room for all the individual musicians to either vamp onto the changes or to completely improvise, whereas John's songs are more in the classical sense of a good hook, some really nice chord changes, and I guess more hummable, whereas the songs that Matt brings are more of the experience of listening to the band and letting them build up something that's a little more repetitive and dirge-like that you can really get lost in.
Give me your favorite track off the first and your favorite track off the second.
I'd say Scarlet is probably my favorite one off the first. I have a lot of fun playing that. Off the second, I don't know. It changes. As we've been practicing it for the gig, we're running through the whole album every night, and I find different ones stick out to me all the time. But right off the bat, I definitely thought that Just Another Day was a pretty good tune. But it's very easy to get lost in 3 and 1 and have a lot of fun with that one too. It'll change if you ask me again tomorrow, or even at the end of the night. But right now, those are my two.
What's on the horizon for tomorrow?
We have this album release show, and then we're going to try to promote this record, and I know that there is some talk about working on some new stuff. I don't know if we're going to necessarily jump right in and try to record anything right away, or if we're going to hash it out on the road and on the stage, as it were. But definitely try to get people, as many people as possible, hearing what's already out there and making sure that we've got something really good to follow it up with.